relied upon.
And now it's time for Fascinating Facts from the Castle of Wellness.
This is more than just a fascinating fact. It's unbelievable. When I was searching on Google for Clara Barton, scrolling down the first page, there was no association with her and Dr. Jackson, the Castle of Wellness, or Dansville, New York. You might wonder why. Well, that question will be answered when we reveal the untold story of Bernard Macfadden.
Coming up, the greatest story never told. The secret history of the father of wellness, Bernard Macfadden.
In 1882, disaster struck when an overturned kerosene lamp in a patient's room touched off a fire that completely destroyed the original wooden health resort. By this time, the water cure was being run by James Jackson's son, Dr. James Jr., and his daughter-in-law, Dr. Kate Jackson. Their decision to rebuild came quickly. On October 1st, 1883, only a year after the first brick was laid, the Jackson Sanatorium was officially dedicated. Outside of a large city, one would have been hard-pressed to find a building of such magnitude anywhere in the nation. It was fireproof, stood 5 stories tall. The cost to build today would be in the tens of millions of dollars. James Jackson Jr. received his training at the University of Buffalo. His wife Kate, also a physician and valedictorian of her graduating class. Although both were physicians in the traditional sense, Doctors James and Kate Jackson were holistic physicians in the true sense. Together, their practice incorporated the most current traditional medical procedures with both water and alternative cures. The new facility included bright, cheerful, airy patient rooms and a ballroom to host guest speakers and provide entertainment and dancing for guests. Jackson's healing embraced the dimensions of mankind, emphasizing patients' spiritual, social, and intellectual needs, making the new Jackson Sanatorium one of the first truly holistic healing facilities in the nation. The Jackson prescription for health included fresh air, sunshine, moderate exercise, and a diet of whole foods, with fresh fruits and vegetables grown in the sanatorium's greenhouse.
Going to the Mayo Clinic website, which was developed, I believe, in the early 1990s, they talk about complementary medicine. CAM is an acronym that means Complementary Alternative Medicine, which is simply combining alternative medicine and traditional medicine. Integrated medicine. This is exactly what Dr. James Jackson and Kate Jackson were doing in the late 1800s. It's only taken us 100 years to realize the value of what they were doing. And because of what they were doing, which was integrative medicine that was not accepted at that time, it ultimately led to the closing of the sanatorium. Today, prestigious universities such as Yale and Harvard are now teaching integrative medicine.
Jackson entered a pharmacy. There were medical doctors and registered nurses on the staff. The sanatorium became an educational facility, being registered with the New York State Board of Regents to include a school of nursing. The Jackson practice included electrotherapy, based on designs by electrical genius Nikola Tesla, a well-known name to every student of electrical engineering, and shown here with his close friend and author, Mark Twain. Tesla's theories of healing utilized electronic technology and were not accepted by the traditional medical community.
It's very strange because at that time, the traditional medical community, the AMA, if you will, said that Tesla's inventions, utilizing the power of electricity, had nothing to do with healing. Well, I think that's not quite true when you think about today's pacemakers and defibrillators.
In the 1900s, the practice of medicine was becoming monopolized. Generally, only members of the AMA were permitted residence in the new, larger hospitals. Tesla's electrotherapy, or any form of healing not approved by the traditional medical establishment, was discarded. Based on these factors, the popularity of the Jackson water cure diminished, and the sanatorium declared bankruptcy in 1914. It appeared to be the end of the Jackson family health traditions as Dr. James and Kate Jackson and their loyal professional staff faded from the American medical landscape.
These wellness visionaries worked and actually lived in a very impressive structure sitting high on a hill in the small town of Dansville, New York, that we call the Castle of Wellness. Unfortunately, that castle on the hill in Dansville, New York, is just like the health of many Americans, abused, neglected, and run down.
Looking at these makeshift stairs, it's hard to imagine that this entryway once greeted the rich and famous from around the world. It's sad to look at the decaying exterior of this once magnificent structure. Walking through the interior, it's shocking to witness the effects of more than a half-century of neglect, abuse, and vandalism. Why was the elegant lobby of this once world-renowned health center left to be ravaged by the sands of time? After all, this is the Castle of Wellness, the castle on the hill in Dansville, New York.
Because we're big fans of the castle.
Why?
Because it's history.
It's history?
Now, the question you may be asking yourself right now is, why isn't the castle on the hill in Dansville, New York, an historical landmark? Just think about the people and all the things that happened at the Castle of Wellness. The beginning of today's multi-billion-dollar cold breakfast cereal industry. The women's fashion revolution. The beginning of the American Red Cross. Perhaps most significant, at least in my mind, the first facility to practice integrative medicine. Here's a really big question. Why wasn't the castle maintained? Why hasn't it been restored? If in fact it were, this would make Dansville and the castle a worldwide tourist destination. How and why did the medical profession become monopolized? Which, by the way, it still is today. What caused this to happen? It was something called the Flexner Report, which was financed by the Carnegie and the Rockefeller Foundations, which boiled down to one fact. If that school did not teach that the answers to all pathologies were found within pharmaceutical drugs.